It's a very deep and potentially extensive topic, but the essence of my answer is very simple, very essential, and it will apply to everyone's life no matter what your unique idiosyncrasies are, what your unique biases are, and so forth. And that's simply that.
Hi, thank you so much. So my question is about presence and God. So is it within experiencing presence that you cultivate, well, from what I'm hearing, you cultivate the relationship with God?
Nice.
And I'm asking because I know you can experience God through different disciplines for different people, maybe dance, art, meditation, whatever. But how to avoid also the limits of your own idiosyncrasies and, cultivating a relationship, God, that's limited to your own wounds. And yeah, what do you do in that space in the daily? And
Beautiful.
yeah, I don't know if you can capture my question in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very deep and potentially extensive topic, but the essence of my answer is very simple, very essential, and it will apply to everyone's life no matter what your unique idiosyncrasies are, what your unique biases are, and so forth. And that's simply that it really does not matter what arises. It doesn't matter what point of view you come from. It doesn't matter what perspective you are brought up in or that you're conditioned by. Let's say you're a Christian. This is your point of view, this is your perspective, this is your thought, this is your belief, this is your angle within God. Now this point of view, this angle can either notice what, make it a little bigger. So there's thoughts here, there's objects over here, ideas, biases, and so forth. So your point of view, your perspective that's unique to you is rested in, just like a wave is rested in the water of the ocean, or like the shape of a ring or a necklace is actually made of gold, or like no matter what is projected onto the movie screen, it's made of the light, or you could say it's rested on the movie screen. Similarly, so there is not a single experience that's more or less basking in God's presence. The only difference is that you are focused in this direction instead of noticing the presence that's just as present to you as a Buddhist with their points of view that they're staring at and that they're being blinded by and deceived by, that they think, oh, this means something, this is real, this will lead me to God. Those are all thoughts appearing in God right now. And every being can recognize, can find this 180 flip of the switch. No matter what their perspectives are, no matter what their conditioning is, no matter how impure they are or what their pain points are, and so on and so forth. I'll pause here and see if this still relates to your question.
It does. And I guess...
So then how to bring that into everyday life?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, how do you live with it?
So it's by, well, you try to answer this question, actually, for me. Your own question, which is, how do you live by this? If you understand this, and you understand that whatever you can come up with, whatever perspective that has a bias, has a personality, has a view, as that comes up for you, your unique experiences, your unique pain points, traumas, ideas, beliefs, how would you live with that on a day-to-day basis if your intention is to recognize the presence of God? To refamiliarize yourself with God, to befriend God, to remember God. What is required?
I mean, for me, what comes to mind, I don't know. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. But remembering gratitude and your existence, your...
Beautiful. Well, great. So feel free to use those words. Now, if it's gratitude for whatever you perceive, that's already beautiful, but it's not quite the switch yet. But then you said, to be grateful for the fact that I exist. that will definitely start to flip that switch. That will allow you to recognize the presence of God. But what we really have to, when it comes to integration, when it comes to, hey, how do I live this freedom in my everyday life? How do I become familiar with God? How do I become a man or woman of God instead of a man or woman of ideas and ideologies and conflicts and beliefs? How do I actually open myself up to this natural, supernatural presence of God? It's to find this switch, but it's to really get through our skulls, which we've been conditioned with for so long, is that this matters when it comes to God. Now, relatively it matters. It matters whether your partner leaves you or not, relatively to your circumstantial life and your emotions and so forth. So I'm not saying nothing matters on a relative level, but when it comes to getting to know the nature of God, it does not matter what you are aware of. So to get out of the habit of being deceived by the contents, God has nothing to do with the contents. The contents are made of God ultimately in the final analysis, but there's nothing within this is what I want you to get. There's nothing within the contents of your experience that can deny you God. Nothing. Not a single thing. Not a single thing. Not the worst thing you've ever done. Not the dirtiest fantasy you've ever had. Nothing. There's nothing you can be aware of that's not held already in the presence of God. So then the question is, well then how do you live that in everyday life? You got to be aware of when you try to find it, that tendency, that feeling of, okay, let me change something about my experience, which is this. It's your personalized world of descriptions, imagination, beliefs, points of view, and so forth. Let me just relax that. What happens when you just stop describing all of this? Stop being so fascinated with your movie. Hard to do if you're right in the middle of an action scene, right? And you're either going to get that partner or not get that partner, and you need to make a choice, right? Right there. It's very difficult to pull away from the movie's storyline. But pick a moment where you are able to do that, where you're not so overly attached to how much you think this will mean in the grand scheme of things. Take a more neutral moment, perhaps, or a painful moment where you've already lost everything anyway, and therefore, who the fuck cares? Right? Like you can only go up from there. Then that can lead to a detachment, like that will help you to realize beyond, which is often why we guide ourselves into these sort of hopeless situations of despair and so forth, is to facilitate a deeper awakening. Because if everything is like going well, but there's some risks and you need to manage, you're not going to let go of this idea, the description. But if you have nowhere else to go, if it's a dead end, anyone ever experienced a dead end? No? Nobody? Many? Yeah, there you go. So that gives you an opportunity. You don't have to. People keep going anyway. But in that moment, there is a beautiful divine opportunity to stop caring about your life in the most holistic, beautiful, freeing possible way. Now that you have access to this knowledge, now that you've been told this, which is the power of instruction. Before that, it maybe would have led to sort of hopelessness, nihilism, depression, and so forth. But if you realize that there's much more than meets the eye that's already here, then the next time you meet an emotional dead end, just go, okay. Let me relax, let me rest, let me notice that somehow all of this, all of these descriptions are appearing within something that I cannot describe, but that's lucid, it's awake, it's clear, it's God's presence. And the degree of totality with which your heart, your soul, your devotion surrenders to that rest, that will be the degree to which your recognition of God becomes naturally established. But make sure you do not fall for the idea, the illusion, that something in your experience can determine how much of God you have or not have. And there's nothing, because everything in the dream at night is made equally, just as much of the dreaming mind as any other thing you can dream up. You can dream up heaven, you can dream up hell, you can dream up nirvana, or samsara. The substance of both of these is the same. That's God's presence. If it can come and go, if it's not here right now, it does not deserve the title God. If you want to know God, always remember that it's always already here. Always already here. Then recognize it by relaxing your insistence upon your own imagined life. Immediate natural detachment for that moment, 2 to 5 seconds. Just for 2 to 5 seconds. Just stop caring about what's going on. Just for 2 to 5 seconds. Afterwards, you can care again and be this and that, warrior and all that, fighter, activist, prove something, get somewhere. But if you're tired of that, or even if you're not tired of that, but you're just curious, see if you can let that be as it appears. Things will always appear as they appear to appear. Your life will always appear as it appears to appear. Does not matter when it comes to God recognition. Every moment is a perfect moment for God recognition. So gratitude, yes, that can facilitate the shift, as long as the gratitude is towards that deepest appreciation of what enables everything, what everything relies on for its existence, which is that which exists, that which is, which just so happens to be aware also of us, through us. So if you recognize any of these, call it the I am if you want, the sense, deepest sense, inner knowing, I am. Or the sense of being, or simply the sense of I, just I, even without M, just I. There's a power in the word I, not the ego I, but I, that whatever makes it possible for me to even have an ego, or to think about this or that. What is that deepest I? Or you can go the route of calling it awareness, noticing that everything right now depends on awareness. Without it, you wouldn't know anything. And it comes with a sense of clarity, lucidity. It's like you begin to lucid dream here in the waking state. So these are just different nuances that work differently for different people, but essentially the recognition of God requires just 2 to 5 seconds of not buying into anything that you're seeing. You're not wanting anything from it. Often I say to yourself, I don't want anything from anything. That leads to a moment of natural peace, natural rest, natural awakening. And doesn't mean you have to forever give up your desires, that's entirely up to you. But it's just about knowing that for this moment, let me take on the peace of claiming that I don't want anything from anyone or anything. And when you notice the rest, the relaxing of this fixed point of view, it is like this tense wave or ice cube begins to melt into its surroundings, into this more spacious clarity, into God. And you remember the oneness, you remember the beauty, you remember the naturalness, the freedom in all that, the changelessness. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The weekend immersion is more like a retreat. It's more dedicated. Like, okay, you've had the introduction during the freedom talks. You've had the quote-unquote initiation, the initial awakening, the initial recognition, and the initial throwing away of all the old garbage and conditioning about religion and God, what God is, and enlightenment and all that. And you now know it's so simple, and you felt it. You felt it in the transmission. You've heard it in the words. It resonates for you. So you've been, in a sense, initiated by your own free will. You've been introduced. Initiation is simply another word for being introduced to another state of consciousness. We will go more in depth on the practice and the application of that practice and some of the challenges, common challenges of those practices that you will meet along the way. So this will be more of a school type of experience, lectures, but also a lot of Q&A opportunity as well to clarify. So this will just go more in depth. It will have more practical tools, And it will be more also about the integration of this into your life.